Good evening, 12s, and welcome to the Seahawks 360 podcast. I'm Candace Higgins,
And I'm Tino Ganasius.
and we are back to discuss pretty, maybe devastating to dramatic word, but the loss to the Los Angeles Rams on the road. This one's a tough one. This was a really big moment for the Seahawks, and the Seahawks were not able to pull it out. Jason Myers wasn't able to convert the opportunity to win it there at the end. Sam Darnold throws four interceptions, zero touchdowns. Really, really rough game for him. Um, Defense, though, absolutely holds it down and pretty much had the Rams on a chokehold. So, what are you counting, Tino? Four?
Oh, just four.
Four interceptions? Yeah,
Yeah,
for
four
sure.
receptions.
There was four interceptions. Yeah, that's just that was just gonna be hard to overcome at any point. Frankly, it's because his defense is so fantastic that they were not blown out. Because really, all the points that the Rams got were gifted by Seahawks offense and by Sam Darnold
by
personally.
by Santa Sam. That's who did it.
Yeah,
Santa Sam Darnold gifted him all those presents. Look,
for
so
sure, man. It was a
for,
rough one for him.
before I go ballistic on the Darnold stuff, there were so many positives to take out of this game, right?
Mhm.
I think you look at the team stats, right? 26 first downs versus 12. Now, not that the Rams needed many to get into the end zone because of Sam Darnold, but still 26 versus 12 first downs. You've got 279 yards passing versus 130. Seahawks 5.2 yards per play, the Rams 5. But total yards 414, right? Rams 249. You go like more rushing yards, not per attempt, but more rushing yards, 135, 119. Had the ball for almost 38 minutes of the game, right? And the defense, as you said, played, I think, phenomenally well given the situation they were put in.
Mhm.
I also say, one huge positive is that Gray Zable's not injured like badly. The
Right,
scan came back and he's day to day, I think, right now, which he could have been out for the season
right,
given the way that
correct,
looked, right? So
correct.
there are positives to take from this game. JSN still produced. Barner had 10 catches, granted only 70 yards, but 10 catches on 11 targets for a tight end is good.
Mhm.
Um, so there are positives to take out. The optimist would say, all right, so you lose 21-19 and your quarterback was playing like a D2 quarterback, right? Like, and you still had an opportunity to win it, a legitimate opportunity to win at the end of the game. I think the Seahawks are still a very good team as a whole. We can talk about this. I don't think they're going anywhere with the current construction of this team. By that, I mean maybe like playoffs, probably. I would doubt that they would get past the first or second round, right? And we'll get into as to why, I think, but I wanted to start with the positives and saying that there are big positives to take away from this game, most notably for me, the defense and Gray Zabel not being out for the year.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of those sentiments. Pretty much, I am the optimist. Hello, at least this season. It does vary per season. Context matters, but this season, I am fairly optimistic on the team. I think it was, I mean, crazy impressive that they even really had, like you said, a legitimate chance.
Right.
Really, if that punt does not go, if that's not like the greatest punt ever in the world, and it goes to the
Darn
one,
near. Darn near.
frankly, yeah, yeah, I mean that to me that pretty much sealed the games for the Rams. I think otherwise the Seahawks go down and can win that. Because we
Unless
have
he
seen.
throws
I
another
don't want to
pick.
get into. I mean,
Unless he
yeah,
throws another pick.
he didn't
If
throw
he
a
would,
pick on that last thing, and we've seen Sam Darnold get them into field goal range to win a game. We've seen that this season before. Um,
not in important games though. Not in an important game.
Touche. Well, people would argue that at the time the Cardinals game was an important game, it was a divisional game, and ultimately they ended up being terrible after that. But at the time they had a good record, so But I
It's not.
digress.
It's not the same. We're bearing the lead here. The lead is
I
Sam
started with the
Darnold.
lead.
You did, but I'm burying it. I started with the positive because I didn't want to come across as like, a jerk, but we're not going nowhere with this dude. I get he's put up numbers. I get like people were jocking him and he was in the MVP conversation for a while because of his numbers. If you don't produce in the clutch, if you don't produce when it matters, if you get scared or you start doing stuff that's not, you have to be able to do the same things in a big game that you did in a normal game. And by the same things I mean your footwork, right? Your presence in the pocket, some of the physical things. You're not speeding up your reads because you're nervous, right? Or because you're anxious or whatever it might be. That was not the same guy I've seen up until this game. He was
Mhm.
backpedaling, throwing off his back foot, just doing stuff that he wasn't really doing before. And I the Rams defense is good. I don't think it's elite, but it is very good. But it was like a different person. And if you can't be clutch, right? The best ones, the MVPs, the ones that take their teams deep into the playoffs, are supposed to get better in those situations, right? They always say the game is supposed to slow down for you if you're great in those kinds of situations. I have zero confidence in him in any sort of clutch game. And was I waiting for this game? Yes. Did I think this game was coming? Yes. Was I hoping it didn't come? Yes. I didn't want it to. I didn't want him to fail, right? But this was embarrassingly failing. Four interceptions, no touchdowns, and he just looked scared. I don't want my quarterback to look scared. I don't. And so I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I know Ernest Jones came out and quoted and said basically "F you" if you're going to criticize a quarterback, and Coach McDonald said we got his back. What else are you supposed to say though, right? If this team's trying to go anywhere, what else are you supposed to say? Do you truly believe that they think he's that guy? Because
I do.
if it was me on this team, I'd be like, oh man, yeah, we're gonna play it out. Yeah, we probably gonna make the playoffs and maybe lose in the first round. But again, then this is a philosophical difference between you and I. I believe that you do that every last step you take as an organization is to win a Super Bowl, and nothing else matters. Do not care about anything else other than trying to win a Super Bowl, right? And I just think Sam Darnold's not getting you there. I had my doubts, right? I was still on, like, not on the island yet, and I'm swimming as fast as I'm getting hitching a ride on a motorboat that way right now after this last game. So it was rough. It was rough. I was sitting in a bar just outside of Bend, Oregon. I'm here for work, and there's a dude with the Rams, hat and jersey and whatnot on. Another dude with the Stafford thing on, and I got my hat on, and we're all cheering back and forth, and it was embarrassing. Like, I was embarrassed for my team. I was embarrassed for my quarterback. That's a tough place to be. That's a tough, tough, tough place to be.
Yeah, it was absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Really, really rough game. Um, I'm not there in terms of where you are because I think a lot of people say what you say, right? What you said in terms of the great ones get better in those moments. I just think historically, statistically, that is not proven to be true. I just think that it's rare that, especially early in your career, I mean, you're saying MVPs. Lamar Jackson still stinks in the playoffs. Still, Josh Allen has a huge turnover problem. I'm not saying Darnold is not is Josh Allen. What I'm saying is that there are plenty of quarterbacks that have
Look,
struggled and we're watching are still struggling
yes,
in those
yes.
moments. So I can't
I'm
project it
I'm
to.
saying no. I want to win a Super Bowl. The ones you named haven't won Super Bowls, besides Manning. But the other ones haven't won Super Bowls, and I think that's the point, though, right? Is you want someone that's going to win you a Super Bowl for me. And is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson great? Yes. Are they potential Hall of Famers? Yes. But I would rather see somebody. We don't even need that level of performance. I just want someone who's going to be great, and the game's going to slow down when it really truly matters. It doesn't mean you have to be great throughout the season. It just means when it's important, you do the same things you've been doing. That's what I'm saying.
I think. I think that's a fluky thing to build your franchise around. I don't understand all your points. I'm not saying none of your points are valid. I just think it's so difficult, and you need so many things to go your way to not just get to the Super Bowl, but to win it. And I think there have been so many instances that there have shown other cases, or even I'll give examples in cases where we have seen rookie or young quarterbacks come in and excel and then have a complete regression, right? We've seen that too. And so it's like, I just don't think you can know. I just don't, I'm not sure there's a crystal ball that can guarantee you a particular path or a
For
particular
sure.
way, one way or the other. And so because of that, I'm not as willing to take those huge swing risks off of something
If
that is
you
really a
know,
moving target.
if you know it isn't this dude though, you got to move off him and take the next chance. That's what I'm saying.
And
Like,
I'm not saying
okay,
that you're right.
so the quarterbacks coming out in 26 are likely not great. A lot of the talented ones are going to stay another year, right? Dante Moore, Oregon, Ty Simpson, Alabama is probably going to stay another year, right? You've got a lot of talented. Lenore Sellers definitely needs to stay another year. Fernando Mendoza is probably the one that's coming out. I don't personally like him. He's I don't know. I'm not going to go off on Fernando Mendoza, but I guess what I'm getting at is that yes, is it a longer build if you're looking for a young guy? It is, right? And I don't know that that's necessarily the route that I want them to go. I think I want them to go two different routes. What I'm trying to say is, what's up?
What's
What
up,
I'm trying to
Sergeant?
say is Sam Darnold's not the one, is what I believe. And so you've got to start throwing darts at a dartboard. You got to start trying something different because if he's going to do okay, say he threw even threw two picks, this team still would have won.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good the rest of this team is.
Yeah,
But that's the frustrating part. Is he went from MVP candidate to completely falling on his face. And the other thing is if this is a one-off, right? If we're like, man, that doesn't even look like Sam Darnold, right? Like what just happened? Like he doesn't have a history of it. Problem is he has a long history of it. And this is what a lot of folks were worried about. And so I don't know. I don't see them getting a ring with him. But the rest of this team is ring worthy. A lot of it is. Imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine he didn't have this game and he kept playing well and he was capable of taking us deep. And say we made it to the, conference championship or at least a couple of rounds. Then we would be coming back next year talking about like we need a center and a right guard, and I don't really know what else we need. We need those two positions. What's that?
I would say an upgraded edge would be tremendous. But yes,
Yes, agreed. Or some sort of like potentially elite explosive edge would
correct,
change the dynamic.
correct.
But that's it, right? I'm like, go find us a guard, a center and a guard, and I'm not even saying right tackle, right? I've come around on that one too. But like,
Wow,
yeah, let's get an edge in here. We love our interior linemen. We love our secondary, right? Linebackers are showing out. But right now, the way I look at this team, and again, we may disagree, is we don't really have a quarterback plan still. And
yeah.
that's
I was like, Sajan
there's
says, see, we got a comment here. I'm not upset about this game. Glad it happened to see where and who we are to advance further in the playoffs. We lose by two, and we're playing better than the Rams. Playing the Rams better. I would agree. I tend to skew that side. I also tend to skew that it takes a minute. Um, we don't know if Lamar Jackson will ever overcome this monkey off his back. We don't know if Josh Allen will ever overcome
they
this monkey
they
off
would
his
win a
back.
Super Bowl with this team. They would win a Super Bowl with the rest of this team. The rest of this team, the defense as good as it is, the way JSN has been playing, like the fact that the line has stayed together and played pretty well, the way we talked about them acquiring Shaheed, either one of those guys would kill for this team.
I
Kill
don't
for this
know
team.
because
This defense.
we've seen Lamar Jackson be the reason that they haven't done well in the playoffs before. So while I
He's
would
so much
agree, this is a great
he's
team,
so
and
much better than Darnold though.
this supporting cast would be one of their best supporting casts. But we have seen them both implode
Boy,
it within like their own whatever they can control. right?
Okay,
Not see
But
them.
Darnold versus those guys, Darnold versus those two, like
I hear you, but what I'm saying is those guys just don't grow on trees. I mean, what class was that? Is that the
well, we
same?
got to try. We got to try.
I just think
We got to.
you can mess your franchise up that way.
You can, but you ain't winning. What are you winning with with all these retreads though?
I
You
think
know.
I think you end up. Well, we'll see. We'll see where they end up. But I think that this team getting better. I think they're finding manageable quarterback contracts to build a true team and not just what we see with those guys now, which is you can't pay nobody else because you got to pay them. And so there's that contrast that's there. Am I out on Sam Darnold? I'm not out on him. I was never super high or super low on him to begin with. Like I was always just fairly neutral. Like he's fine.
Mm,
What did I say? What did I say?
mm.
He's fine. I said he's
No,
fine.
at first you
He's
said
fine.
you liked the fact that the floor was higher,
The floor is
right?
higher. Correct.
And that's what you said at first. But then as it kept going on, I saw you thinking about getting the jersey,
Oh no.
and yeah,
No, no, no. Now what I'm high on and what I have been high on is two things. This
you was about to
defense
order it.
and
You was
Clint
about to order
Kubiak.
it.
Now,
You was
we'll
about
talk
to
about
order
Clint
it.
Kubiak. Say what?
I said, you was about to order it. Don't even go there. You was about to
Not at
order that
all.
jersey.
Not at
That
all.
1-4 Seahawks.
Not
Yes, you
at all.
were. Yes, you were.
Now, I like this team. I do. I love this team. I love Mike McDonald. I love this
Mhm.
defense, and I've always been higher on Clint Kubiak and what he will do for the system than I was a quarterback himself. I've always been an advocate for what just the and when I said floor, I was referring to the Clint Kubiak system
Yes,
and what
you
that's
were.
going to do. And so I've been like Darnold will be fine. Like he'll probably have some really good games. He'll probably have some bad games. My stance this whole time now, he has surpassed my expectations. And then when he did surpass my expectations, I said that because I didn't expect what he put up to be, a realistic, sustainable performance at all. I didn't expect to get anything close to what he did with the Vikings, basically.
Right.
And he did prove me wrong in that way. But he also has shown his downside. I'm just I'm big on I'm not as big on potential in terms of the young guys like you are like give me a floor to work with and watch a guy improve. I think as many retreads as it exists around the system, I think it's proving something, and that's that teams give up on quarterbacks too soon. I
Agreed.
think you could argue the Vikings gave up on their and as bad of a game as Donald has, they lose rough. Okay, just ask Justin Jefferson who we'd rather have
Yeah,
right
but
now.
McCarthy is not, and this is a Michigan man saying this. McCarthy's not the answer either, right? Like, it depends
Yeah,
on who that quarterback is. It depends on the style of play you want to play, right? So if you're replacing say you replace Darnold with another quarterback or a rookie in Kubiak's system, you want someone that is really good in play action, right? You need someone who's really really good in play action. You need someone who's going to match the strengths of JSN, right? And for me, I would love to see a quarterback in this system with some real rushing ability and mobility. And Darnold's not horrible with that, but like when you become a threat to run the ball on the edge, out on play action, now the whole defense is just kind of screwed, right? You see what happens when you get those athletes out there on the edge like that. And I think that's some of what they envisioned with Milrow when they picked him was the threat of the run when you get him outside. Now I have no idea who Milrow is, what he's capable of, right? I'm not saying he's the answer at all. What I am saying is Sam Darnold to me is not. And I think that it's time for them to start thinking about kind of, you know, I think if we go into next season with Sam Darnold as our quarterback, we're wasting the prime of this defense, right? And we're wasting some of the prime years of, like a Charles Cross and an Abe Lucas. We have bookend tackles that are playing at a pretty high level right now. You've got, I still like K9. I don't love him. He's not my favorite running back in the world, but he's explosive enough and he's shifty enough that he could be really, really good in a different offense or with a different offensive line. I think there are some great pieces here, and we are going to waste their prime if we don't make a move at that position. I do not I have zero confidence. Like it's like an empty 20-point score in the NBA, right? You can go out there and score 20 if you play for the Clippers like back in the day because they're terrible. And you had opportunity. That's how Darnold feels to me. Is like not a garbage time quarterback, but a quarterback that's going to perform very well against inferior teams. And but when it counts, it's just not he's not present. He's not there. And Coach McDonald said almost as much when he got interviewed because he did say like he needs to forget about the previous pass,
Mhm.
right? He needs to forget about what just happened. And again, you have to be able to put bad plays behind you as a quarterback. You just have to. And if he's not able to do that, I question his, you know, a little bit his mental strength. And that's not those are questions I want to be asking about my Super Bowl winning quarterback. You know?
I think all your points are valid. I'm a bit more of a he's been put in this type of situation about 3 times. I would argue the Vikings game against the Seahawks actually he that was a big game, and he was able to come through in that moment. I think the bigger the stage gets though, the squirrelier he gets. That's clear. Is that something that can eventually be overcome? I believe it can. I just believe experience wins all in those situations. Now, I also want to see progress. Here is one thing that gets me slightly optimistic. He overcompensated. So, what happened against the Rams before? He got sacked 9 times. He held on to the ball too long, put himself in bad situations, that sort of thing. This time, what does he do? He tries to fix it by getting the ball out quick, but making absolutely terrible decisions in the process, right? And so I would almost you don't want your quarterback turning the ball over like that or getting sacked 9 times, right? But you're not paying him top dollar. You're paying him run of the mill middle pack, right? That to me that matters because then you can put a team around him. Now, if you're paying him top quarterback money, I'd be I'd be probably worse off than you right now in terms of where I would stand because that just wouldn't fly. But if he can progress in those areas, what I will be looking at is how does he and I want to have a quick word at Clint Kubiak. We gonna come back around to that. I want to have a quick word to both of them. How does Sam Darnold? How does Clint Kubiak bounce back in these next 2 games? It won't be easy there either. The stage will be big either, like too. But
Right.
do we see some progress? That's incremental progress, but it's still the same result. The question is, can he find the middle ground, or is he just
Right.
going to keep rotating from one extreme to the
Well,
next? You know,
so one, I like your point about him, trying to compensate for what his previous experience against the Rams. One thing I would say though is the Vikings offense had some more kind of deeper, longer developing routes,
for sure.
offensively, and so you end up holding on to the ball longer when that's the case, which allows you
Yep.
to get sacked quicker. And I think that, the Seahawks when they do that, it's off of play action typically, because they're not trying to have him stand back there, not running not play action, and just be a target. So it's probably a little bit of both, where this offense is different, and so he may not have gotten sacked as much because it's not the same. He's not holding on the ball as a target as long, but it's still you want you want your players to be the ones who the other team have to adjust for, right? That have to account for, that have to make the adjustments at halftime. And I think if he's swinging so far back and forth, that's a lack of confidence, is what I see, right? When you're trying to compensate that way. The other thing I want to say about Kubiak and this team is, and I know I sound it's like a broken record, but running games fix most every offensive ailment. They just do, right? If you could legitimately run the ball, like not just kind of we're going to run it 35 times for 135 yards and average 3.9 yards a carry, but like you're scared of this running game, whether it's scheme, whether it's power, whether it's you have an elite back, whatever the case is, Sam Darnold becomes a different quarterback. with an elite running game or with a really dangerous running game because you have to honor it and you get nervous, right? And now all of a sudden you're hitting Shaheed deep because they're bringing up, they're putting 8 guys in the box because they're worried about the running game. But this running game is more like it's more to just kind of, it's to show you that we have a running game, and it's to provide a threat of the running game. I know we run the ball a lot, but you don't feel like this isn't like we're going to impose our will on you type of running game. And it's not what San Francisco used to have, which was so schemed up that like you were scared dudes were going everywhere and they were about to break, 60-yard runs with CMC because you didn't know which way they were going. The way Mike McDonald in Miami was a couple years ago. So I
Yeah.
want to, for me, if if it, whether it's the off season or this season, like a larger focus on making this running game better, I think would cure a lot. It would cure a lot of what's going on with this offense, in my opinion.
To your point, Sajan says, right, weak on the right guard, period. Concerns with the running back room
Yep.
up the middle when nothing's there. He also says Kubiak is going to the Giants. He is absolutely not going to the Giants. Sajin, I'm sorry. There are a lot of reasons I was confident that Clint Kubiak was still going to be here next year. One of which is this game. Donald may have bought him an extra year here
But
in Seattle.
that's the
But
only good thing Sam Darnold did with this last game.
the other thing is he's got the personality. He makes Mike McDonald look
Yeah,
charismatic,
he ain't New York. He ain't New York.
and I just don't. That's not happening. That's not with that personality.
Well,
Especially
and Jackson Dart's not, who's their franchise quarterback, is not a huge, kind of play action, take care of the ball type of quarterback either.
correct.
And so, you've got to have a lot of times when they're hiring that, especially an offensive coach, you're looking at quarterback coach fit,
Yep.
more than anything. It wouldn't surprise me if Kubiak eventually, say this offense continues to play well, if he gets a job. I don't think it'd be the Giants, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did end up with the head coaching job even next year. Say the Seahawks, Darnold goes back to doing what he was doing, right? Or teams decide, Darnold's lack of performance in some of these games isn't a Kubiak thing and they love his scheme, that it's a Darnold problem, right? I do think his name's going to be high on some lists this offseason. And I think for sure, if they continue to play well in 26, that he would have some real offers in 27. And that is a good point and something to think about, but not after this game.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I will stand by that personality matters, and I think there's some examples like Mike McDaniel of the guys being weary of the guys who are just the minds but not truly the personality. No, granted,
Yeah, I like
he
McDaniel. I like Mike McDaniel.
yeah.
I'm a
I just
fan.
think it ain't working, man. It ain't working. I think he's an
Fan.
excellent offensive mind. But personality does matter, and I believe that interviews will keep him in Seattle for a minute. But but to your point about the run game, I want to talk about that because that's probably this game. I'll give it 60% on Darnold for sure. But I would say a big chunk of the pie also goes to Clint Kubiak because there is no reason why in this game it's almost like he didn't pay attention to the opponent. He just went out and did the same game plan he had against every other team, which was a little running, but bombing away, bombing away. There is no reason why on a day where you had probably one of your more successful run games, Ken Walker went for 16 carries, 67 yards, 4.2 average, and he had a couple of pretty good. Not super explosive, but fairly explosive run game plays as well. Zach Charbonnet struggled a little bit for sure, but I feel like you had enough there in the run game to lean on that. We've talked about this a ton of times. Darnold is not somebody you want throwing the ball 44 times. Darnold threw the ball 44 times. I'm not sure I understand how, after that first half, you decided to go with three straight passes. I'm just confused about what exactly the adjustment was supposed to be. I'm
Right.
confused about why is it that when he goes up against these guys who are sort of from his same tree, he gets real cute and he does a ton of shotgun Ryan Grubb stuff, and all of a sudden we go away from our under center. It's like we going all over again because there was a
Mhm.
9 play action passes last night yesterday. 9. Sam Darnold
Out
threw
of
the ball
44.
44 times. I'm
Yeah.
confused about where the play action was. I mean, part of why he looked skittish was because there was an offense that he ain't been running.
Right.
And
It's
I just
20% of time play action. They should have been much higher than that,
I'm just
especially
confused.
against especially against the Rams.
Yeah, that's not a team that was going to stack the box, which is why I say I'm confused about why they didn't account for the opponent, or at least what they had seen in the first half, and that is the Rams were giving the Seahawks, and it's a good strategy. I've been waiting for a team to do it forever to say, hey, just run the ball. And guess what? The run game, I believe, came to life, but because we did not call it consistently enough, in my opinion, given the situation, given what you saw from Sam Darnold, we continue to let him pass, 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 pass. And he's struggling and he looks skittish and he doesn't look confident and he's not under center. Maybe the under center thing, maybe they were uncomfortable with that because of Olu. I'm not sure. Yes, they were trailing, but they weren't trailing enough, in my opinion, that you were forced to pass the ball. There was plenty of
Mhm.
football left, especially
Right.
going into the second half. You had the ball, and yet they came out and there was no runs. I
I
it baffling.
I wanted to see more Robbie Oots. I wanted to see
Yeah.
more, like Barner and who's the fourth tight end now?
Right. I mean, Warrior. Oh, you mean the Nick Coward? Yep.
Yeah, so like let's lean on them a little bit. And again, that's a good point on your part. Like Darnold is going to show up better the fewer attempts you give him, right? Because if you're running the ball that much and you're effective, again, you're running play action a ton and you're creating more separation with play action. You got to keep giving the ball, especially K9, right? K9 look spry. He
Yep.
looked good on turf like that. Like he's quick. And you got to just keep giving him the ball. That really wasn't a Charbonnet game for me,
Nah. That's it.
because the Rams are tough. They're tough up the middle, and they're a rugged team. And you're playing on turf, right, where Walker's going to show up a little bit differently. Get him the ball. Get Rashid Shaheed the ball. He's so fast and so quick. Get him the ball on some jet sweeps. Like, let's get him the ball, move, stretching the defense horizontally. Like I said, that's what he did in New Orleans a ton. I think Kubiak. One thing that can happen too, and I don't know if this is really what goes through his head, but when you go against again people from the same tree, right, or people who think similarly about things that you came up with, you want to show out, right? You want to be the one. And you're trying to, like, sometimes you try too hard, and or it becomes more about you and less about winning and less about what's right for the team, because you want to make sure you're running all the cool stuff, right, and you're the person they're talking about after the game in a positive way. And again, I don't know if that's true or not with him. I don't know the situation well enough. But if you go off what script of what you have been doing up to this point, that's what that says to me to a certain extent, right?
Yep.
Is you're trying to show off. And
Hmm.
I don't know. I still go back to, like, preseason, this team was able to run the ball so well. And the recipe was clear. We talked about it. It seemed like they had a recipe where they were going to run the ball. This was going to be the identity. They were going to be super physical, and the defense was going to be an elite defense. And I still think with the personnel on this team, that's the direction we should still be headed. Is to be able to be a physical, dominant team that sets a tone, and that Darnold doesn't have 44 passes, right? It's more like 24
Right.
than it
Because
is
that's what he's been
44.
doing. That's
And
what he's
he
been doing.
goes 18 for 24 and 2 touchdowns because you're running a bunch of play action because the other team's scared of the running game. Like, to me, that's how they go far. If there's any recipe, and I don't think there is, if there's any recipe for Darnold making it to, like, the second round of the playoffs or further, this team with Darnold, that's it. I don't think there's any other recipe. It's certainly not chucking the ball around the park all the time. That
It's
ain't
not.
getting you nowhere with him.
It's not, and
Nowhere.
I think that was clear at halftime. And I believe Mike McDonald even mentioned such we got to get back to our identity, and yet that's not what we saw in the second half, and that is what frustrates me. And that now I will say I appreciate Mike McDonald saying that because I know he's more focused on the defensive side of the ball and those sort of things, but it gives me optimism that next go round that they will do that. I really do believe that. I don't think it's as much for Kubiak. I'll give him a little benefit of the doubt and say it's not about showing out for his job. I just think he overthinks it. I think he goes, they know I'm going to do this, so I'm going to, he's trying to
Sure.
think 3 steps ahead, and I just think he overthinks it. I just think he gets in his own head a little bit too much and doesn't stick with what has gotten you to this point. And so,
Right.
yeah, Darnold looks uncomfortable because Darnold's running a style of play that he hadn't really run all year. Darnold also
Right.
looks uncomfortable because this Rams defense is sort of his kryptonite. I think that's obvious at this point. And so you pair those two things together and a lack of adjustments and I'm not even going to say a lack of run game. The run game worked. Like
Right.
the Rams gave you the run game. They said, "Hey, here you can run the ball," and Clint Kubiak was like, "Yeah, I'm good. We'll pass it with our very skittish quarterback." Like, yeah. So I give him a big chunk of what went wrong as well because to me, I know they did a decent amount of attempts, but this is not enough. Not enough ratio wise, given how much you had the ball. And just think about
Right.
it. Had they ran the ball, oh my God, the time of possession would have been is already
So
lopsided.
well, and
Yeah.
you're also hate to say it, but you're taking away opportunities from Sam Darnold to throw picks.
Yes,
You know,
you are.
like which is silly to say, but it's true.
It's true. And
I
it would have worked. Had they
yeah, I
ran
don't
it
know.
more in
I
the second half, I think had they made actual halftime adjustments, also, I think they win this game. Had they
offensively,
come out running the ball, had they come
right?
out doing more play action, had they come out with that style, their style of football, I also think they win this game going away. Like you said, despite the picks that he had had to that point, but it kept putting him in his hands, kept putting him in out of shotgun. All those picks were out of shotgun
Yep.
because it's not his thing. A couple things here from Saijan. Says one things he did hear from Rams fans is that the Seahawks should have won the game. They left points on the field. I would agree with that. One, because of turnovers, obviously, but also was not a big fan of the clock management there in the end. The lack of
Mm-mm.
urgency for me is frustrating. They've done this a
It
few
was
times.
it was like yeah, it's like they're counting on a 60-yard field goal to win.
Yeah,
You gotta go. Like, let's go. Let's get this within 40 or 30 or like let's do some other stuff. But it felt like okay, we're on turf, we're semi inside. He just kicked a long field goal, so we're gonna trust that he can hit from 61. That's not a way to win. Either that or maybe they were worried about Sam Darnold a little bit and worried about having him, I don't know.
well,
This
they've
game
done
was
that
so
before.
frustrating.
They've done that before, though. They've had opportunities where I felt like even in like a 1 minute drill where they let 6, 7 seconds run off the clock before they do a timeout, like where nothing is happening. Like there's no
Right.
timeout. There's
It's like they're
no
trying to
nobody's
figure
really
out.
running.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like they're trying to figure out what to do. You need to already know what you're doing two
yeah,
plays ahead. And you
correct.
need to have a clock management guy. I think Pete Carroll used to have a guy that would stand next to him and basically tell him like what the numbers say to do in this situation, clock management wise. Like if it's not your forte, have somebody standing next to you.
I believe he has that. He talked about that on the Mike McDonald show this morning. I just think he said that they ran the clock management according to their numbers, but I think they need to
You better
reevaluate their
you better
numbers.
find yourself a new
Yeah,
calculator and a new clock management
yeah,
dude then because those numbers weren't numbering for me.
no, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree, Sajan. Like it was too much time waste. So I honestly feel like they could have made that a 55 yarder easily, just with
Yeah.
like getting a few more seconds on the clock. Had they just had a little bit more urgency, like you didn't have to panic. And I'd agree you don't want an already panicked quarterback being too rushed, right?
Right.
But there's a little bit of a balance there where, if nothing else, I just feel like the timeouts need to be much more. Like we just can't keep wasting these seconds off the clock. It's like a 5 second
Right.
runoff for every timeout call. Like
Right.
even
I
when the game's not in jeopardy, they did that in the first half too, where like I'm like timeout, timeout, timeout. I'm yelling at the
right.
TV screen, and then they finally get one in. But So while I say Darnold takes the bulk of this blame, I don't think it's anything like the Vikings game where there was a lot of things that went wrong. I think this falls squarely on both Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak for putting him in a poor position. Frankly, he didn't put his players in a position to win.
I Yes, I think the Kubiak point is important. I still think that a better quarterback makes fewer mistakes and the
Sure.
Seahawks win this game. I put it on Darnold. I think it is
60%.
important. Yeah,
I
that
give it
math
60.
ain't that math ain't mathing for me either. Yeah, I'm more like 75-25 or 80-20, but it's that's not my favorite dude. We've established that already.
Yeah. I just think that I just think asking Donald to throw that much was going to always put you in trouble, and that's not what you supposedly signed him for anyway. So I think it's unacceptable to put him in that spot in a big
Right.
spot like this. I also feel like the oh shoot, lost my train of thought. Anyway, go.
I was gonna say too, it's interesting because Ernest Jones said on a couple of those big runs in the first half, like it was on him that he didn't fill the right hole.
Yes, I
And
did one of
I
those.
want, he's been so assignment sound since he's arrived with the Hawks. I wonder why that happened. You have to wonder, like, was he also too amped up, right, and ready to go against his former team and not thinking straight? I don't know, but though it was very clear when he wasn't assignment sound that Kyron Williams bit off some big chunks of yards. I also find it interesting that the Hawks. I don't believe the Hawks had a sack in this game, did they?
No.
No, they didn't. Neither team did, for that matter.
Mm-mm.
And that to me is interesting because this team has put so much pressure. That's been such a huge portion of this defense is the ability to get hits on the quarterback and sack the quarterback. And they had what, two quarterback hits is what I see. And
Yep.
that's you give Stafford time, and I'm not blaming the Hawks defense for this necessarily because I think so much of it is scheming, is McVay trying to protect Stafford because he knows how important he is to the team. So he's scheming an offense that gets the ball out quickly, that has enough protection to make sure that your late 30s quarterback stays healthy the entire year because that's the only way they're going to win. Smart. It's smart football. But then what do you do as a defense when getting pressure on the quarterback is not necessarily going to happen, right? And I think the Hawks did a really good job of adjusting and understanding. Like this defense played, you hold this Rams team with the kind of field position they had to 21 points. I think defense played really, really well for the most part. Outside of those two Ernest Jones plays, they look to me. I appreciated this defense in this game quite a bit, right? And
For
like
sure.
you said at the outset, like this team, the Seahawks team wouldn't be within 2 points and a game-winning field goal of beating the Rams if the defense didn't show up the way that they did. They need
Correct.
they need to get shouted out too, for sure.
For sure, for sure. Now, Ernest Jones, I give him some slack, especially early in that game because he hadn't played in a couple. I mean, he's coming off injury, and I'm sure he's not 100% healthy. I mean,
Sure.
I think he's probably playing at 70, 75, percent. And between that and being amped up, not playing in a couple weeks, I probably just a little rust. Nothing crazy because it was a couple plays. Nothing
Oh
that
yeah.
like lingered throughout the game, but it's a little rust. I think to start that game, and the Rams probably intentionally tried to take advantage of that, test that a little early to see
Yep.
would that work or not. Um, I'm very
Tell
curious
me.
to me.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no,
No, go
no.
ahead.
I was just gonna
I
say
was
I'm
just
very curious what these next meaningful games look like because to me I'm more interested in that than round one. I do know he's got a track record. I also just know it takes quarterbacks a minute. Particularly, we know it takes Sam Darnold a minute to really evolve in his game, and he needs experience. He needs those reps in order to improve. I think that much is clear. So the question is, can he evolve, or is this a fatal flaw? To me, it's still too small of a sample size to say it's a fatal flaw because I've seen him improve in so many other areas of his game. I'm not going to rule out the possibility that the one major flaw in his game still can't be can't be progressed, especially with as great of a mind as Mike McDonald is, and as much as he's going to probably push Clint Kubiak on his weak points. He seems very self aware in that regard. So Yeah, I'm looking for progress right
But
now,
this
but I
is
never had Super Bowl expectations for the team.
how do you improve upon just being choking in the clutch every time?
Experience. I
How many
believe
years does he
experience
need?
matters.
Isn't he in like year seven?
No, yeah,
Something
but
like
we are
that.
playing. But we've talked about this. A meaningless game and a meaningful game against what is going to be the highest level of competition at the NFL. The Rams look like one of the, if not the best team in the NFL right now. If you're
One of
talking about a jump in competition, if you're talking about a jump in stakes, and just the adjustments to that, like the way
I ain't
you
got time
play
for
in
that.
those big games, I think that matters. I don't think that naturally comes to any
Yeah,
quarterback, and I think history proves that to be true.
he's been given so many chances though. Like
Not in the playoffs. He's been given three.
that's you know why? Because he don't make it.
No,
Because
because
he
his team
chokes.
sucked.
Like
No, because his team sucked. Come on, the Jets weren't doing
no,
anything. The
he wasn't
Carolina,
good until
yeah,
the Vikings, but his team he wasn't good until the Vikings, but he had a great defense with the Jets too.
a
Robert
defense,
Saleh had them playing. They had some dogs on that defense.
a team
I
sucked.
guess I guess no, but they had some
And the
dogs on
Jets
defense
won
though. Look up
everything
the
they
defensive
played.
rankings. Look up those defensive rankings though.
The defensive
So let me
rankings.
ask you this though. What happens when they lose to Tennessee next week?
Oh, you still on that bandwagon? That's hilarious to me because the Titans are 1-9. That's hilarious to me.
They're
Look,
bad.
listen, I'm gonna be at that game. If I'm gonna be at that game, if the Seahawks don't make it a proper get right game, I don't think the show is ready for the wrath that I'm about to have. I'm about to take my 1-year-old toddler 3 hours on a road trip and 3 hours back to go watch these Seahawks, what should be a bloodbath. If it is not a
Crying the
bloodbath,
whole
some y'all gonna
baby's
see
gonna
me
be
on the
crying the whole baby's gonna be crying the whole way too. You're gonna be paying for
y'all
the
might see
ticket.
me on the news. I might not make it back because somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
I just want to see you out there in your Darnold jersey. That's what I want to see.
You'll see me in my proper JSN jersey, which I bought 2 years ago. Actually, it was a Christmas gift. But anyway, you'll see me in my JSN jersey properly. Yeah, Sajan, I'm with you. Like, yeah, we're not losing
Was
to
that?
the Titans. The only team stupid enough to lose to the Titans is the Cardinals.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. I so it'd be we need to we talked a little bit about the Gray Zabel injury, but if he can't make it for this game and they're starting Christian Haynes and you got Christian Haynes and Oluwatimi and Anthony Bradford battling Jeffrey Simmons in the middle,
I do not care.
I think that's
I do not
okay.
care. I
Okay.
do not care.
Look,
That's
I'm a
not a good
Seahawks.
enough
Look,
reason to lose that game. You
I
can
I
struggle.
am a
The
I'm
offensive
a
line can
Seahawks
look
fan
bad.
through and through. I'm a Seahawks fan through and through. Born and raised. Seattle, South Seattle, Columbia City, Rainier Valley, like Garfield High School. Parents went to Franklin, like Seattle through and through. I'm not trying to say I want them to lose. I'm just saying I don't, I think this did if they lose, it's not gonna be it'd be, 13-10 or something like that. I don't think Cam Ward's putting up numbers against his defense. But I'm just saying, like, I don't what I'm looking for is I'm looking at Sam Darnold's confidence. I want to see him come out and deal again, right? It's not going to do a ton to change my opinion because I'll just go back and say, well, he's playing a crap defense, and so he can deal against teams that aren't good. But that's still better than the opposite, which is he's rattled and he continues to make poor decisions because of what happened in the Rams game. That's the thing I'm scared of. And if again, I know it's just one guy, but Jeffrey Simmons is probably a top three defensive interior lineman in the league,
Yes,
like
he is.
that good.
Yep.
So he could wreck all kinds of stuff if they're going to have to scheme for him at minimum. So to me, it's going to be a very, again, interesting game. I want to see how Sam Darnold reacts. I want to see how Clint Kubiak reacts, right? What are you going to do with Zabel gone if he is hurt? Are you going to try to run on the perimeter more, right? Are we going to see K9 on the perimeter more? Are we going to see them try to establish to run a little bit differently to try to protect Sam Darnold? So watching Kubiak and watching Darnold for me are the two big things in this game. I do expect the Seahawks to win. I think you'd be silly to say that, to bet on Tennessee, but I think they have more of a shot than people are giving them. And the fact that because I'm a hater, the
I
fact
just
that
think
you're hey,
I just think you don't want to get off your prior. That's all.
because
You don't want to get
because
off your
no because no 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 I ain't like that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll admit it. Here's the thing though.
prior.
Did I Abe Lucas? I admitted it, right? So I also just want to envision. I want to be able to like picture you driving home from that game like for 3 hours after they got beat by the Titans and having to hear it from all your friends.
You know what? Thankfully, my friends do not care. All right. Thankfully, none of my friends care because I keep telling you, no one in this city
I'm
roots
sure they
for the
don't.
Titans. Well, let me not say no one. There are some people I know on social media that do root for this team, but most folks are Cowboys fans around here or Steelers fans. They do not care about what happens to the Tennessee Titans. And with a culture like that, who would? Um,
Right?
yeah, no, I think you pretty much got to live in Nashville to care about the Titans, and also most people I know don't watch football, so thankfully
Right.
I'm good. But no, my husband would give me a lot of crap though on the drive home for sure, because he is a Broncos fan, and so it's it's been interesting. But but yeah, no, I'll be there. Excited to go to a game. It's been years since I've been able to go to a game.
Yeah.
Period.
That's
Let
awesome.
alone still trying to get up to Lumen here next year. So anyway, just excited about the team. Still, I'm still impressed with their ability to be in that game. There's still, like you said, a ton of positives to take away from that game. Are there concerns about Darnold? Absolutely. There were always concerns about Darnold. There was the possibility that he could have looked like that the entire year. So that's what some folks thought, right? But we're here that he's been able to still beat expectations. You were those people, correct? I think most people thought he would look like this every game, right? And so I think he'll bounce back just fine. Now, still, what he does in those big games is yet to be seen.
Hmm.
But frankly, I think this needs to be a get right game. Get right against the Titans. Get Zabel healed up. Hopefully, he can be back for the Colts game. Especially, even if not the Colts game, definitely need him for that Rams game. Um, and yeah, I mean, sucks for sure. It was a big opportunity. It would have been wild if they won that game. By the way, like I don't even know what
Yes.
my analysis would be. I don't
I,
know what
the
my analysis
analysis
would be.
analysis would have been this team can go might be able to go pretty deep with the bad quarterback is what the analysis would have been. The team is that good.
I still don't think Sam's a bad quarterback, but I agree. In order to have a real A guy, he needs to be able to step up in those moments. I believe experience comes with a lot of that. This team is still young. This coaching staff is still young. I mean, they're one of the youngest teams in the NFL, and I think it shows
Yes.
at times execution wise across the board because we also got younger at quarterback, right? And so I just think for yes, he's not a rookie, but he's still young, and I just think that shows. So we'll see. I think the Seahawks still control their own destiny in the end at this point. And I almost, but this is Cope. I will put this out there. But you want to win that game, but like the level of expectation that then comes from that game, from this team, from this point on, I think I don't know if Darnold can withhold that for a whole season. Like I'd rather him in a couple of big games at the end pull it out and still kind of be looked at as an underdog because I just think he would be even if he did pretty well against, the Rams and the 49ers again. I think he'd still be looked at skeptically going into the playoffs, understandably so. I think that's almost to some extent better. This whole team, I think, just works better as an underdog than as like the top dog. This team is too young to be overall to be considered like a top dog mid-season. You know what I mean? Like I want to play my best ball at the end. It's cool, but it's also true for me.
Yeah, I think these next games are going to be fascinating. It's going to be.
No one thinks the Titans will be fascinating except for you. Like only you.
I, I watch any sports though. I just love watching. I love watching any and all of it. But no, I think more Indianapolis, right? Because Indianapolis is really good, and Jonathan Taylor is probably the best back in football right now.
For sure.
Um, that's a tough out, right? That's a very tough out, and it's
Mhm.
really going to test the Seahawks run defense against Jonathan Taylor because he can play, right?
Yes.
And they got a very good offensive line. The Rams, we know it's going to be a war, you know, and I hope that the 12s mean something to the scoreline in that game. And I hope that Darnold can, exercise his demons against the Rams. But obviously that's gonna be a fascinating game. And the reason why the Tennessee game is interesting to me is not because of Tennessee. It's because, like we said, how does Darnold react? How does he bounce back? And does Kubiak change his stripe, or is he continue to change his stripes, or does he go back to what has worked thus far this season and what his philosophies are? And do they just decide they're going to establish a running game? Because I do think when you listen to Coach McDonald, it's so clear that he still wants to be that team, right?
Yes.
He still wants to be we're bigger, stronger than you. We're going to impose our will on you. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play great defense, and that's what we do. It's so
Right.
clear he wants that, right? And when he talked, like your quote of him about halftime, like it's crystal clear.
Yep.
So do they, coming off of a loss where Darnold played so poorly, he probably has even more say or a stronger voice with Coach Kubiak than he typically would.
For sure.
Hey man, I tried to tell you this is what we need to be doing.
Yep.
I don't think he'd say it in that tone, but you know what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
Really.
that's what I would say. So
Nah.
yeah, I think this team is super interesting. Super, super interesting, and I'm fascinated to see what happens over the rest of the season. For
Yeah. For
sure.
sure. Um. Upcoming opponent after that, the Seahawks. I don't know. Well, yeah, I'm really interested in how just looking ahead a little bit, but even past that Rams game, we got the Vikings coming up. You got the Falcons. Um, Michael Penix Jr. just got
I
put on
know. Out for the
IR,
season.
so he's
Sad.
out. He'll be out. JJ McCarthy is looking interesting to say the least. They got some opportunities to rack up some wins. The meaningful wins that they have left, they've got to get those. They've got to get those. In the NFC West, where everybody has got cupcake schedules, including the 49ers,
You can't
uh,
fall behind.
can't fall behind them. So you got to keep pace. All those wins, I know people will, in the grand scheme of things, say they're meaningless, but they're not meaningless because you're in the NFC West. So every game matters just as much, whether it's the
NFL
Rams.
NFL wins are never win. NFL wins are never meaningless, right? And it's the league of parity. It's the
Yeah.
league where you can always get beat by someone else, right? I don't think any win is meaningless, but I do think that losses can also be bigger than another one, right? And this one to me felt, even though there are positives to take away, some of the negatives, the reasons why we lost are red flags
Yeah,
for
for
me.
sure. Fair enough. All right, let's get us out of here. Tino, tell the
Mhm.
people where they can find you. Mhm.
Blue Sky, Tino Jr. 20, talk baseball, talk Hawks, talk smack, whatever it is you want to say. You want to criticize me for my takes on Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, go ahead and do that too. But you can find me there on Blue Sky at Tino Jr. 20.
All right. All right. Be sure to check out the show at Seahawks. In the meantime, guys, that's it. That's all the time we have for today. We're out. And as always,
Go Hawks.